Okay, welcome back, guys. Um, Today we're going to go and finish up the 15.2 lecture stuff and then get right into 15.3. Just to address a few things, we did receive word that school will be adjourned for the rest of the year if you haven't seen that. What that means moving forward, I don't know, but one thing will remain. I will be here every Tuesday and Thursday to do some lectures for you guys and go from there. Um, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I know, again, education and school is not always your favorite thing in the world, but it's something I believe in a lot, and I'm really glad to see you guys here every Tuesday and Thursday. So, thank you. As we progress forward, let's do our best. Last time we were talking about comparative embryology, talking about the pre-birth stages and how we actually had gill slits as we develop in the embryo in the womb. But over time, those things are lost due to apoptosis. It's just a template-based plan to make a successful offspring in the womb, essentially. So there's not much left here. So again, you can see in the fish, the reptile, the birds, and humans, there's gill slits, something that we all have in common. However, not all of these organisms retain them into maturity. So again, these are just remnants or vestigial structures still within the embryo. Comparative biochemistry, many organisms utilize the same molecules in their bodies to perform similar functions, such as the mitochondria, the metabolism, the red blood cells, and things like that. We all have a commonality and use together. All living organisms use DNA and RNA as their heritable genetic information. That's something that we have in common with, like you see in the photo, a platypus, kangaroo, a tortoise, even bacteria have DNA and RNA. So these are all things that we have in common and have retained together. Again, if you found an organism that did not have DNA or RNA within its body and yet was living, interacting, and responding to its environment, then it's probably something brand new and we'd have to rewrite textbooks. So, which is pretty cool. Just giving a shout out to Ethan. He said hello there in the chat. So, Ethan, hopefully you're having a great day. Anybody else wants to give a shout out, you sure can too. Comparative biochemistry, cytochrome C, enzymes used in respiration. So, again, metabolism, mitochondria, has changed very little over time, only slight differences in the amino acid sequence. So, what that means is there are certain genes and certain functions within the body that are very, very important to us. If we mutated or changed them drastically, most likely the organism would fail to survive or even exist in that manner. So, as such, these genes are highly conserved, which means they don't change a whole lot. There's few small subtle changes, sometimes to the non-coding DNA, and we can actually detect those differences. As you look at the photo here, you can see that humans, all the way down to yeast, many organisms have a very similar cytochrome C protein that's in their bodies. And we can detect these small differences. As you look at humans compared to monkeys, other primates, we do share a commonality that we have very similar cytochrome C proteins as compared to, say, a moth or yeast. Yeah, there's quite a bit of difference, but yet they're still functioning, they're still working for all of us, because if they didn't, again, we wouldn't be here. So, geographical distribution, biogeography, the study of plant and animal distributions around the world, which is kind of cool. That also kind of plays a role in how species develop, why some species are bigger, why some are smaller, why some are venomous, why some are bright colored. Area specific, organisms that live in the same area are more similar to each other than organisms in different parts of the world. A lot of the desert species are usually lighter in color to, once again, not absorb as much heat. They have long limbs and whatnot, so they can dissipate that heat if they're warm-blooded animals. So very specific things happen to them. Island isolation, like the Galapagos Islands. Island species are very unique. They have been evolving in isolation from other species. So they are having their own unique habitats and niches and resources and food supplies that factor into their livelihood. While on the mainland, there may be something totally different. So you get these plethora of different individuals existing out there. So, as you look at similar habitats, you got the English rabbit. Yes, he drinks tea, talks with a British accent, says "God save the Queen." While you have the South American mara that looks like a rabbit, but is not a rabbit whatsoever, not even related to them. You can look at the back legs; they're big and strong. They run fast. Very similar bodies, but not the same at all. Okay, I think the South American mar is actually a marsupial as compared to the English rabbit, which is a mammal. So some big differences there. So again, occupy similar niches. They have developed similar attributes and qualities about themselves. And that's pretty much it for the 15.2. So we'll go ahead and jump into the 15.3. So if you have those notes open up, go ahead and check those out. This is shaping the evolutionary theory. We're going to try to get as far as the Hardy-Weinberg theory and stop there today. So shaping the evolutionary theory talks about our objectives, discussing the patterns observed in evolution, and describe factors that influence speciation, so how species distinguish themselves from one another. The main idea: the theory of evolution continues to be refined as scientists learn new information. So the theory of evolution is not a, hey, this is what it's going to be from now until the day we die forever. No, it actually changes. And if we found something new that was basically completely different than what we know now, they would have to change it, because that's the principle of science: is you change it as new information comes into light. So that's the cool thing about science. It's always changing, always something new to discover when we find it. So, and I always like sharing those things out with you guys. So evolutionary adaptations, types of fitness. So there is fitness. The definition says a contribution of an individual trait allowing it to be passed on to the next generation. Better suited, better chance of survival of passing on. A lot of people say, you know, fitness means, working out, being physically fit, strong, fast, all that. That is not necessarily a fitness. I mean, it is a fitness, strength is, but it's not fitness as a whole for when we talk about species. There's different types of fitness as we talk about, okay? So, like when we played Who Wants to Live a Million Years, each species had their own unique quality. Some long legs, some stripes, those helped evade predators. The ones with fur, those survive better in the colder conditions. So those were fitness qualities or factors within that game that you played, which is kind of cool. When you look at this little frog here, you're thinking, well, okay, awesome. He's kind of black and yellow. What is his fitness? Well, he definitely stands out. And you would think, it's not so good, You might stand out, you might be getting eaten by predators. But as many of you probably already know, yellow in the animal kingdom, if you stand out like this, usually means you are poisonous. Good job. Okay? So if you're poisonous, a lot of people are like, woo, don't mess with that guy. He must know Kung Fu. That's right. So, yes, his fitness quality is a bright color to warn others, don't mess with me, I'm poisonous. So the other fitness factor he has is poison. So these are poison dart frogs. And then there's, of course, Highlander, the greatest film ever, won an Academy Award for, once again, being the greatest film ever. And it talks about there can only be one, right? One Highlander. Many of you have no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah. So, anyways, it was a movie where they had to cut off each other's heads to become the one Highlander or one master dude, whatever. And Highlander was one of them. So, anyways, cool enough. Camouflage is a type of fitness that we use a lot, and it allows an organism to blend in with their environment, invisible to predators or even prey. Many of you go deer hunting, and as you go deer hunting, a lot of you will actually, yes, wear an orange vest for safety, but you also wear some camo, I'm betting, too. And especially if you bow hunt, you wear a lot of camo. Right? And especially if you're a turkey hunter, you wear camo. Why? You're trying to blend in with your surroundings so that your prey, the deer or turkey, do not see you. But other species have developed these natural camouflages, as you can see here. It may be hard to see, but there is actually a moth right here in this first photo. And it has blended in with the tree bark very, very well. There's different varieties of these moths. Some are more white, some are more black, but some of them are speckled like this. The ones that were too dark got picked off. Too light got picked off. So as such, having a molted look like this really helped out. This little guy right here is a leafy sea dragon. Yes, it looks like he has leaf appendages to basically say, look, I'm a plant, and all these animals that want to eat him are like, I don't want a salad. They think he's a plant, so he gets away with it. Camouflage. As you go fishing, maybe, You're sitting there fishing along the bank, and you see that green pond weed or whatever it is, and all of a sudden you see these eyes staring at you, like, whoa, those weren't there 5 minutes ago. They probably weren't. The fish, once again, hard to see through that, but the frogs, even though they're green, they blend in with it pretty well too. Here in this photo, you see the copperhead and the dead leaves. Um, they are kind of a brownish tan, and they blend in super well. And this is why sometimes people get bitten by them, because they're walking along the timber, they don't see them, and right on top of a copperhead, which is a venomous snake. Don't mess with those. And of course, you've got this little katydid over here that looks like an actual leaf, which is pretty cool. And you've got the cute one here where the dog blends in with the fuzzy animals there. If you couldn't tell, there's an actual dog right there. So there you go. Alright, so that's types of fitness for camouflage. Mimicry is another one you might have seen but never really understood. So in mimicry, one species resembles another one, but usually it's the harmless species, often mimicking the harmful ones. So in this first one here, you can see that there is what appears to be two bees or two wasps. In fact, though, there's only one wasp. The other one is not. It's actually a moth. And you might be thinking, well, this one's definitely the bee or wasp. No, this is actually the moth. You can tell by its feathery antennas. Those are moths. So any other organism that sees this goes, ooh, that's a bee. I remember messing with bees. I don't want to get stung. They leave them alone. Down here you have the monarch butterfly and the viceroy. And you're thinking, okay, cool. What's the difference? A lot of people go out looking at butterflies and they don't realize that you're most likely looking at the viceroy, which is not a monarch. Monarchs are rather large. The one way you can tell the difference between a viceroy and a monarch is if you look at the hind wings. The monarch does not have this band that goes through the wings. As you look at the viceroy, you can see that black band right in there that actually pops up. Okay. At the top right, you can see the snakes. You have the eastern coral snake, which is a very venomous snake. Then you have the scarlet king snake, which is a very pretty snake, but non-poisonous. So it does not hurt you whatsoever. It's, I believe it's black and yellow. Let's see. Black and yellow, kill a fellow. Black and red, friend of Ted. So if you want to know, but when in doubt, just don't pick up snakes. The moth at the bottom right, those big dots represent or resemble eyes owls. When a moth is sitting there and a bird is getting ready to come by and it flaps out its wings and it looks like owl's eyes, ooh man, owls can eat birds, so they quickly fly away. So again, just another small adaptation, and they're just mimicking. It's not like they sit down and they're like, hey, I want to look like an owl or I want to look like a bee. They just had natural variations in the population. Right? They just happened to have these variations that gave them advantages over others because they looked like them. It's like if you happen to look like a celebrity and you walked into, say, a restaurant, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, look, it's Tom Cruise, right? And they all go up to you like, can we have your autograph? You're like, sure, okay. Let me buy you your dinner. Okay, sure. You're reaping all the benefits from looking like the individual by random chance. It's not that you purposefully tried to go out and look like them. It's just by random chance. All right, so Morgan had a question. If red touches black, you're okay. Jack, if red touches yellow, you're dead. You're a dead fellow. Yes, that's another one too. I like that. Um, there's a couple ones I've heard, but that one I really do like, Morgan. So thank you for sharing that too. So, but yeah, snakes are very interesting little creatures. There's some pretty cool ones out there too. I actually did some research on rattlesnakes, and you have appreciation for things that can kill you after that. So, yeah. But yes, so very cool. Types of fitness. You have structural too. This is kind of cool. Body structures that allow organisms to survive better within their environment. For example, large teeth, strong beaks, claws, whatever it may be. As you look at the birds here on the left side, you will notice that there's a number of different beaks out there for birds, and they all grant them a special ability for probing, spooning through the mud, holding fish in their pouches, whatever it may be. But ultimately, they have this structural advantageous feature. Like the saber-toothed tiger there in the middle, they really don't understand why they have these big long canine fangs or whatever, but they do. Um, they thought maybe they were for piercing, but they said the bite strength of the saber-tooth tiger would probably not do that as much. They thought maybe that they were used for maiming, like stabbing at the jugular, and then running away, or even possibly mate selection, which we'll talk about later on. Claws themselves allow for defense and stuff like that, as you can see in Wolverine as well. So those are structural things. The question is, do we have any structural types of fitness? I think that's a question I have for in your discussion board, so I'll leave that to you. So overly, we're going to stop here today, but Hardy and Weinberg, they came up with some principles, and we'll talk about those next time of how species change, so things that influence them. Okay? Does anybody have any questions regarding fitness? If you do, go ahead and post in the chat, but you guys have been a great audience today. Again, I'll post a discussion board here in a second, and also the video quiz. That's just to test your knowledge to see if you picked up on the main ideas. If you happen to miss one, just go back and review them. It's no big deal. So, but yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and post these things while we're waiting for questions to filter in if we have any. And they're just 5 easy multiple choice questions just to test your knowledge on some of the terminology of types of fitness over 15.3. So stick to your notes on 15.3 only. And the discussion board, we got some cool thoughts out here. I try to make them more opinion based, or what you think would be the best. That way you can stimulate a little further deeper conversation. All right, I don't see any questions in the chat as of yet, but if you got anything you want to share, say, sure can post it there. Hopefully you've been having a good time in your quarantine state there, but hopefully you've been getting outside a little bit, enjoying the nice weather as we move forward into spring. I don't know what the future holds here for us, but surely the weather will get better for you. All right. I don't see any questions. So I'm going to wrap it up here in a few seconds unless I see something. So thank you guys again for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. I'm really glad that you take the time to better yourself. This is going to pay off in the long run. It really, really will. This is definitely a historical time frame that we've got, but and you guys are kind of getting the short end of the stick on some of these educational opportunities, but tuning into this is helping you achieve more. So you are making yourself better every day. All right, guys. I don't see any other questions. I'm going to shut it down, and you all have a super awesome day and weekend. See you next Tuesday.